We can't have the best of series without the best. Ashton Jeanty, all things Ashton Jeanty, on today's edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast for Thursday, June 26, 2025.
You are Locked On Raiders, your daily Las Vegas Raiders podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome here, Raider Nation, to another edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast. Thank you so much for making the show your first listen of the day. Definitely appreciate you. If you're catching the show wherever you find your favorite podcast, or you're checking us out by way of the YouTube page, you know we appreciate both. Show continues to grow each and every day because of your consistent support and the great job that my man Ari does behind the scenes, making sure we look good and sound good each and every day. Even when we got the best of series going, Ari is still knocking it out the park. So we definitely appreciate him. We shout him out. He's on Twitter at Ari Produces. You can hit me up as well at your boy Q254. And normally we've got the Locked On Raider podcast voicemail line for you at 707-654-4693. We are winding down on the best of series. Just got a couple more shows left, including today's show. We'll have tomorrow's show, and then we'll be back to normal action coming up on Monday as vacation getting wrapped up for your boy. So we're going to make sure that we got to talk all things Ashton Jeanty, right? That was the conversation that we had on the podcast so much, right? Should the Raiders draft Ashton Jeanty? Should they not? What kind of difference maker is he going to be? And after the Raiders got him, man, it's been all rainbows and puppy dogs. Everyone's super excited, fired up about what he can do with this Chip Kelly-led offense. Geno Smith, Brock Bowers, we know everyone that's involved in it, but Ashton Jeanty is definitely going to be the headliner. So if I'm going to do a best of series, I got to make sure I have the best of the best, which is Ashton Jeanty. So on today's show, where we're going to have his former head coach there at Boise State, Spencer Danielson. I got a chance to catch up with him right after Ashton was drafted when I was in Green Bay. You'll hear the quick conversation that I had with Ashton in Green Bay right after he was selected, after exhausted, being there hours on top of hours on top of hours. He was really tired, but you'll hear the conversation I had with him as well. And then what very well might be my favorite conversation of the year so far, and I know it's still only mid-June or whatever the case may be, a little bit later towards the end of June, but Ronnie Braxton, Ashton Jeanty's trainer, RealSuperiorAthletics.com. Fantastic interview, all things Ashton Jeanty. So segment 1, 2, and 3 is all things the number 6 overall pick, Ashton Jeanty. So we'll go ahead and jump right into it. I got to meet for the first time his head coach at Boise State, Spencer Danielson, when he was selected, when Ashton was selected number 6 overall. We were in the green room. We were waiting for Ashton to go through the car wash that we call it there at the draft, where he has to go and meet with all kind of media. So we were waiting there for him to go to the podium, and that's when I was introduced to him. So I thought, well, I might as well get a couple of minutes, get a little bit of insight, a little bit of background on one Ashton Jeanty from his head coach, Spencer Danielson. Here's that conversation. Here with Boise State head football coach Spencer Danielson. And Coach, you just saw your guy. You saw Ashton Jeanty go number 6 to the Raiders. You got the Raider hat on. What are you thinking right now?
I am so fired up for him, man. God is good. It's just seeing a young man that, since he came to us at 17 years old, just continued to work. And the player he is, the man he is, he's going to not only be, in my opinion, one of the best football players in the NFL next season, he's going to impact that culture the second he walks in the door.
I asked him yesterday, how much his military background, his father, how much that kind of had him grounded and disciplined. How much did you see that as far as kind of helping shape him into the guy he is?
Yeah, he's absolutely wired the right way. And even in recruiting, we talk about talent sets the floor, character sets the ceiling, right? Obviously, Ashton Jeanty has a high talent, right? So he's got a high floor. But what's made him who he is and I don't even think he's even played his best football yet, is because his character is so high, so his ceiling's so high, and that's just who he is.
What is it about him when he's on the field? What makes him so, over 1,700 yards after contact, what is it that makes him so unstoppable?
Yeah, he's a matchup nightmare. As a defender, you don't know how to deal with him. Like, if you come in high, he's going to go through you like a bug on a windshield. If you come in low to brace for impact, he's just going to one cut and he's around you. He can catch the ball in the backfield. He'd be one of the best returners in the country too. So he's a matchup issue. Like, if they line him up and empty, you better put a corner on him, or that linebacker is absolutely toast. That's who he is.
We got Boise State head football coach Spencer Danielson with us here. Ashton Jeanty goes number 6 to the silver and black. What is it about Ashton Jeanty the Raider Nation doesn't know that they're going to get to know pretty quick?
I mean, he's just a phenomenal human being. I mean, he will become the face of the program. That's just who he is. I mean, because people are going to love being around him. His teammates are going to love being around him. The team's going to play for each other now because he's a team-first guy, and he's gonna have a lot of fun doing it. He's going to be dancing in the locker room. I can't even imagine some of the touchdown dance he's going to have, but I promise you this, he's going to work. Like, he doesn't run from it.
No, and that's what Pete Carroll's all about, right? And so in this game of college football now, it's so tough to keep talent because of NIL, the transfer portal. He didn't leave. He didn't leave Boise State. What does that tell you about him as a man?
Yeah, he's never lost his focus, right? Where others do, where it's, okay, I'm going to go here and chase this. Ash has chased greatness. That's the only thing he chases. He doesn't chase other things, and now he has all these things, but he's on a mission. Yes, he got drafted 6th overall. It's an amazing moment for him, but he's not done. I mean, he's going to go be the offensive rookie of the year. He's attacking these things. That's how he's wired.
You know, he always has a smile on his face. It seems like everyone's always cheering for him. What is it about him that just attracts other people to him?
Well, first off, he's just a relentless competitor. And that's become uncommon, right? People want to say they're an elite competitor, but to be that, you have to sacrifice everything. I mean, how you are in the training room, how you are on the practice field, how you watch film, how you're around your teammates. So people want to be Ashton, or they want to be these guys, but they don't want to put the actual work in. Ashton will. That's why, I mean, it's going to be a match made in heaven with him and Coach Carroll, because he's going to have a lot of fun, but you better believe when that ball gets put down, number 2 is going to be ready to roll.
Well, he told me that he won the basketball competition when they went in, when he had his private visit, and he said he won the basketball competition. So he said, I got a good J. So he wants to compete at everything, it sounds like.
Yeah, if you play him in checkers, you better get your mind right.
Well, I'm assuming that we're going to see a lot of you at Allegiant Stadium.
Oh yeah, I'm silver and black now for life, man. I'm fired up.
Well, final question for you: what did he mean for the program, just in general? Now that everyone saw him do what he did, goes very high in the draft. What does that do for you, the program, recruiting, everything?
Yeah, I mean, thank you, Jesus. I mean, you talk about a young man that was pulled in a lot of directions, but never let himself get there, right? He could have, and just focused on his development and achieved what he did. Our team achieved what we did. Top 10 football team last season, college football playoff, back-to-back Mountain West champs, Heisman, all these things. You can have it all at Boise State, and Ashton Jeanty's proven that. It's not hope. It's, oh, you want to be that way? Come to Boise State. As long as you're built different.
So that was the conversation with Boise State head football coach Spencer Danielson. I don't know if you noticed. I don't know how much you've been paying attention to Boise State football, but he got a raise. He got a raise in the contract extension for what he was able to do, obviously led by Ashton, but getting Boise State to the college football playoffs. So Spencer Danielson is a guy with a lot of energy, a lot of juice. You could tell that the relationship between him and Ashton was very, very strong, even after they finally got to see each other in the back room. He gave him a big old hug, and they had a couple words exchanged back and forth, just basically saying, stay focused, stay working hard. And it was just kind of cool to stand back, not say a word, and watch the two conversate. But I did have an opportunity, a quick minute. This was one of the things I was excited about being at the draft, is having the chance to catch up with whoever the Raiders did select at number 6 overall. It ended up being Ashton Jeanty, and I got a couple minutes with him after he left the podium. Here it is.
Here with the newest Las Vegas Raider, Ashton Jeanty. How does that sound to you?
Man, it sounds amazing. It's got a nice ring to it,
It really does. And we caught up yesterday, and I just asked you about the journey, and you said it's been long. Now that this part of the journey is over, how are you feeling?
Man, I'm feeling great. Just a sense of relief, just take a deep breath and, just thankful and grateful, for the path and the journey to getting here. And it's just a great moment.
I was talking to your coach earlier, and he said that you're relentless, you're competitive, you want to win at everything, checkers. It doesn't matter what it is, you want to compete, and that's what Pete Carroll's all about. Where's your competitive drive? Where do you get that from?
I think from how I was raised, we competed in everything, whether it was video games, board games, playing outside, man, anything with the family, we're competing. So it's just in my blood,
So when you get out there on the football field, what's going through your mind? When you're shaking guys 1,700 yards after contact, what is going through your mind?
Shoot, no man on that field can tackle me, right? And, it's me versus 11. There's 11 people coming after the ball trying to take me down.
So what is Raider Nation getting in Ashton Jeanty?
And they getting somebody who's just, passionate about what he does. He loves football, loves the community, and, I'm excited to, be embraced and embrace this new community.
You mentioned just a while ago at the podium that you already love the fan base. What is it about the fan base that you already love?
Man, it's that energy, they come with each and every game, and, it's just like, Raider Nation, we the bad boys,
you played in Allegiant Stadium a few times,
yeah.
Right? How excited are you to get back out there on the grass and do it again?
Really excited. It's a great stadium. It's beautiful. Scored a few touchdowns in there, so why not score some more?
I'm going to let you go real quick. What do you want to say to Raider Nation as I let you roll?
Just win, baby.
So that was my quick minute conversation with Ashton Jeanty after he got drafted. I got to speak with him the day before when it was a big media scrum. We had an opportunity to meet with all the prospects that were there at the green room, so I caught up with him for a few minutes there. But knowing that I was going to be able to catch up with him again, if in fact the Raiders did overall select him, and they did. So there you go. It's cool to get that kind of experience and start to build that relationship with the Raider that you're expecting to be around for quite a while, because he's definitely going to be a guy who's going to make an impact for this team. But how did it all come together? Who is Ashton Jeanty? What is it behind the training, behind, the man himself? Ronnie Braxton, Ashton Jeanty's trainer, RealSuperiorAthletics.com. Got a chance to catch up with him on my radio show. Great conversation. Like I said, it was probably one of my favorite ones of the year so far. You'll hear part 1 coming up in segment number 2, and then we'll close things out with part 2 in segment number 3. Ronnie Braxton, Ashton Jeanty's trainer, comes up next here on today's edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast. Before we get to that, though, I do want to tell you about one of the great sponsors we have here on the show, and that is Monarch Money. Have you ever checked your bank account and wondered, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. It's your personal CFO. Gives you full visibility and control over your finances. And Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place. So you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. And I'm telling you, when you start looking at the app and start looking at the features that they have, and you realize, I spent that much on food delivery? Yeah, it's easy to do. And you did it, right? It's got an all-in-one convenience where it's basically, instead of using multiple apps, you could just use one. You can use it to check your finances, track your spending, and even plan your long-term goals. Right now, take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the promo code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, promo code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year. All right, Raider Nation, here we go. Segment number 2 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Really was excited to get this conversation and land this interview on my radio show, Unnecessary Roughness, on Raider Nation Radio 920, and that's with Ashton Jeanty's trainer. Fantastic stuff. If you listen to the show all the time, or you listen to the radio show, or you listen to both, whatever the case may be, you may have heard this conversation, but let me tell you, definitely worth hearing it again. So here's part 1 of the conversation with Ashton Jeanty's trainer out of the DF Dub, Dallas-Fort Worth. This is Ronnie Braxton and myself on Unnecessary Roughness on Raider Nation Radio 920, talking all things Ashton Jeanty. What is it about Ashton Jeanty that you've learned over your training, the time that you've known him? What kind of makes him go?
Well, the thing that stands out the most is that he's consistent every single day you walk in the building. And a lot of athletes at this level, I've been doing this 24 years, you have to remind them the little things about being consistent. And Jeanty shows up with the little things, already instilled from walking barefoot and, foam rolling the right way and, doing all your dynamic warm-ups and prehab exercises to understand that, the body has to take a phase of every season to get to a long career. So he understands those things early, going into the National Football League as a rookie. So, when you ask that question, what stands out from him and everybody else is, he walks in the building already paying attention.
Right. Yeah, he does. And that's something, even the conversations that I've had from him, you could tell that he's definitely paying attention. When it comes to discipline, and we know his background with his father, military, how much does that help in this process that he's very much disciplined like that?
It's a good and it's a flip side to that as well, because sometimes you can be so disciplined that you're robotic and you got to break habits and unnecessary, we call it, a robotic system that you're used to, that, you try to get them to be innovative and creative within their own self. But, the discipline that comes of just understanding who you are and kingdom principles, and as character and integrity, that side of what mom and dad instilled in him from the household, that's why I'm excited to see him as a Raider in the city and the state that he's in, because he brings a different level of discipline, not just in football, but the character of the man when you walk in the room. Like he's truly a good man, and that's the part I like about him.
Ronnie Braxton, RealSuperiorAthletics.com is with us here on Raider Nation Radio 920, Unnecessary Roughness. The clip that went viral was, we all saw him training in the rain and going through drills, and then we heard you talking about, the fake Super Bowl champions and talking about Ashton and thinking that he's going to be Offensive Rookie of the Year. What is it about those drills? Why is it so important to go through that and deal with that adversity?
Well, I've been training NFL football players for 24 years. I mean, I can go way back, and when I was talking about guys like, you got guys that go to a practice squad team, and they only was on the practice squad for 2 weeks, and that team wins a Super Bowl, and the practice squad guy for 2 weeks says he won a Super Bowl that year. So I give him credit for being Super Bowl champion. So that's why I kind of said what I said. But to take nothing away from being a Super Bowl champion, because it's the ultimate, or should I say the second ultimate reward that you can get in the National Football League. And I think Hall of Fame is the final goal. So, but, when I made that comment, we were getting ready to go train in the rain that day, and it was raining outside, and it was storming, and it was about, 35 degrees. And guys know at the building, it's a safe place, but, we got to go outside. And when it's raining that hard, it don't do no good to have a shirt on. It don't do no good to have socks and shoes on, because it ain't gonna do nothing but weigh you down. And we're on that surface quite a bit, so we understand that ain't no rocks, ain't no hazardous things on the ground. So we understand where we're putting our feet. But other than that, when summertime in Texas, we may train in July at 1 p.m. and it's 115 degrees outside. In early March in Texas, it can get to 10 degrees, 0 degrees. We do get real snow. So in the off season, it's a great chance and great opportunity to get, young guys, in a mode of, training with the lights on, training in the rain, training in the snow, being able to adapt in any element to as you get ready to go in the NFL. And I believe Ashton's going to be able to dominate. Knowing who Chip Kelly and Pete Carroll is, and I was excited for Ashton to get with Chip Kelly, because Chip recruited my son Braylon Braxton at UCLA, and we ended up going a different direction. And now Chip is up there with Ashton. I think it's going to be a match made in heaven, and I'm actually kind of glad he changed that stance, because I've had 3 or 4 or 5 different conversations about that stance, and one of my questions was what if those guys asked you to change it? And I thought that was really intelligent of how Chip asked him to get in the basketball stance and kind of deliver it that way. I thought that was just so outstanding. As a coach, to have that intelligence and get his point across that quick.
I'm glad you said that, because I was going to ask you, how do you thought that was going to, if it was going to change anything with Ashton, or could that be an element to this that actually makes him better?
Well, it's going to make him better, and I think that, that dynamic, and people don't know this about him, like, Jeanty is a phenomenal route runner, and I'm not saying this lightly, because, I'm down here with, Jamar Chase, and I'm seeing, Tyreek Hill and CeeDee Lamb, I'm seeing the best receivers in the National Football League every year, same way you guys are, up close, in person. Mm-hmm. Jeanty runs better routes than probably all of them. I can send you video footage if I have to. In his hand?
Oh, I believe you, Coach. I believe you. Look, who am I to question it? I just like to hear it. I really do. I'm excited. I know Raider Nation is excited about Ashton Jeanty. Again, Ronnie Braxton is with us here on Raider Nation Radio 920. Unnecessary Roughness trains Ashton Jeanty, knows him as well as anyone, if not better. Is there a guy that you look at, you kind of compare Ashton to and say, yeah, I see similarities in his game, and Ashton has the same thing?
I call him a gorilla, cheetah, bird, honey badger, hippopotamus. And it ain't no man you can compare him to, because you got to go get animalistic instincts, because what he's been through and where he's been across the country and how he's been able to become Ashton Jeanty is, I don't compare him to no man. I compare him to an animal. He got a gorilla chest, right? He got eyes like an eagle. He have cheetah feet. He's as vicious as a honey badger, and a honey badger is one of the smallest things. And a hippopotamus bite, is tougher than a lion's, and you got a, wolf-like ears and a bear-like nose. So when you ask me about who I'm comparing him to, it ain't nobody that compare to him in the National Football League. And that's no knock on to the greats that's played the game. But, the guys that's down here around me, I try to put them close to animals and not humans. And that's where, the question becomes, can 100 men whoop a gorilla? Absolutely not. The men is in there playing games. That gorilla is in there in survival mode. So you can't take that away from the gorilla, and you got these men in here playing games.
Ronnie Braxton right there talks about Jeanty as a good player, even better man. Credits Chip Kelly and Pete Carroll. Right, his son was recruited by Chip Kelly. Now, they didn't go play for him at UCLA, but he's recruited by him. He's excited about Chip Kelly having an opportunity to coach up Jeanty, and was happy. A lot of people talked about Ashton Jeanty and that stance, and the reason that he changed his stance and why they are doing that. But a lot of people, including Ronnie Braxton, actually happy that he did that, and you heard why. Really intelligent the way that he went about it. But that was just part one of the conversation. That's right, there's more. Part two with Ronnie Braxton comes up in segment number 3 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Here we go, Raider Nation. Segment number 3 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Getting ready to jump into part 2 of the conversation with Ashton Jeanty's trainer. Really good stuff. Ronnie Braxton, fantastic insight to, kind of why they do what they do as far as him being a trainer, and Ashton obviously learning from him, learning a lot about Ashton Jeanty in general, and just kind of what he thinks is going to happen with Ashton his rookie year with the Raiders and even beyond. So here's part 2 of that conversation with Ashton Jeanty's trainer, Ronnie Braxton from RealSuperiorAthletics.com. What did it tell you about the man who Ashton Jeanty is that he could have, and college football better than anyone, he could have gone anywhere he wanted, he could have transferred, he could have got the bag in NIL, he stayed at Boise State?
Well, he had several schools contact me and come meet me in person. And down here, in our neck of the woods, we Texas football. Let's just say that part. And in Texas football, we got every school in the country coming through and recruiting our guys. So it wasn't nothing for a running back coach or an offensive coordinator or a head coach to say, hey, Braxton, tell us what's going on with Jeanty. But Jeanty and I talked last year. I think it was early January, and we did weigh all the pros and the cons. And, at the end of the day, it was a decision that he had to make as a man, and he made the right decision for himself. And I just thank him for, picking up the phone and asking me my opinion, and that facet, because you got, some kids listen and some kids don't listen. And, I thought it was better for him to stay at Boise because he controlled the whole narrative. And believe it or not, I told him in January, I said, you're going to go to the college football playoffs and you're going to be up for the Heisman Trophy. And he believed it, and not just believed it, he manifested and made it a revelation. And they took the Heisman Trophy from him. And I tell Deion Sanders, like, that Deion, you stole that from that young man. You did.
Yeah. If Travis Hunter wasn't the electric guy going both ways, and obviously in that Colorado program, it's hand down Ashton Jeanty was going to win that Heisman Trophy.
Ashton Jeanty right now run better routes, has better hands, more dynamic after the catch than Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter can't cover Ashton Jeanty.
I like it. This is phenomenal. Well, Coach, before we let you go, and like I said, man, I definitely appreciate your time. I want to ask about you. You said you've been doing this 24-plus years. You're there at RealSuperiorAthletics.com, on Twitter at Ronnie Braxton, A1. What makes you do this? What is it? Why do you strive to do this and coach up such incredible athletes?
Because I understand the element in the off season is more important than just being preseason and in season. And you got 20 weeks outside of the National Football League. that if you hone in on the details and you understand the nutrition and the sleep and the things that Tom Brady was trying to tell young men on how to have a long, successful career, you know, you pay attention to those details of Isaac Bruce and Chris Harris Jr.'s and, you know, the guys that were able to be successful. And, you know, over the years, you take notes from Alonzo Highsmith, and you take, you know, notes from guys, and, you know, you come up with your own formula. And I got my master's degree in exercise physiology. I have a, you know, CSCS and strength and conditioning. So I can go and work for any organization in America. But I just chose to stay out here because I feel like it's a level of education that's being missed, that the National Football League or college football or high school football, that if you get it early in high school, that's where, you know, I got Ashton in high school, and then now he's a pro. He's already a pro walking through the door. And that's why, you know, I stayed out here because, you know, my son, Braylon Braxton, you know, he's a college quarterback that went undefeated last year at Marshall University, Conference Player of the Year, MVP of his championship game, #1 touchdown-interception ratio in the country. So you got Anthony Hill, the Texas linebacker, Jordan Tyson, the Arizona State receiver. Then my other son is the All-American corner at Ole Miss. So, you know, all those boys grew up together. So as I was developing and building my family, you know, God told me, you know, when I say God told me, God literally told me. I'm one of those guys, when you see me and you see God or you hear the word God, you know, I'm one of those people that's like, only God could have done that. So that's kind of why I stayed out here, because only God.
I'm not mad at that at all. That's a great testimony right there, Coach. Fantastic stuff. Keep doing what you do. Believe me, I spent 11 years in Texas. I know all about Texas football. I know what that's all about. So you're coaching up some of the best out there. I have no doubt about it. Keep doing what you're doing. Thank you so much for your time. And if you don't mind, Coach, we're definitely going to keep in contact. This has been fantastic.
I look forward to the Raiders having a successful, healthy season, and they got a great young man who lead the right way. You can't replace the leadership, and he lead the right way. It got so, and I'll leave it with this. It got so tough on me that he didn't drop balls, he didn't make mistakes, and he paid attention to detail. So when he started making a mistake, I couldn't punish him in the drill because he didn't make any mistakes. So I started making him getting up 30 minutes early. So we get up at 5 a.m. If I catch him making a mistake, it's 4:30 a.m. So I couldn't punish him on the field because he don't make mistakes very often. So you got to take his sleep away from him in the offseason.
I love how he cut for his guy, right? Talking about Travis Hunter and Deion Sanders stole the Heisman from Ashton. And look, you very easily could make that argument. I remember being on the radio on ESPN, having many conversations. Who would you pick? Who would you pick? I would have picked Travis just because, again, you saw, you know, him go both ways, and it was fun. It was exciting. It's something that we don't see very often. So I can understand why a lot of people, like I said, including myself, would have voted for Travis Hunter. But if you went with Ashton Jeanty, you're not wrong. I mean, you put up over 2,600 yards. You carry a team to the college football playoffs. I mean, you do a lot of fantastic things. You easily could have won the Heisman Trophy, but Ashton's on to bigger and better things. But I love the fact that Ronnie was definitely cutting for him, you know, and then he talks about details. Pay attention to the greats, right? Learn how to have a long, sustained, you know, career. And then even talked about why he stayed in the DFW and decided to be a trainer as opposed to go and maybe even work for, you know, an NFL organization. But I thought that was some really good stuff from Ronnie, you know, behind the scenes on why they do what they do, and also who Ashton Jeanty is. So that's going to do it for today's show. We got one more of these bad boys. Best of series rolls on. Final day of vacation coming up on Monday. We'll be back to some normal programming as we always have. So we definitely appreciate you rocking with me and dealing with me while we get a little bit of R&R, a little quick break, and then ready to go back at it full throttle. So until tomorrow, Raider Nation, take care of yourself, take care of your family, love on your family. Most importantly, as always, just win, baby.